And welcome everyone to this week's Business Bytes. Once again, we're joined by Andrea Anderson. Welcome, Andrea. And we're especially excited this week because we're joined by Melanie Wood. Melanie, if you could tell us a bit about your business, please.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. So my business is Speaking Styles, and I help entrepreneurs, startups, business owners, managers and leaders be able to gain that clarity and confidence so that they can talk about themselves, their business, their organization, and being able to do that through public speaking, storytelling, and soft skills as well, and really be able to have that voice be seen and heard, and be able to do that concise and to the point, and really connect and engage with their audience.
Well, that's a great skill for all small businesses to have, because most of us go to water when we have to talk about ourselves. So talk us through the process and some of the things that we need to be aware of, or things to do.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the things and the problems and the gaps that I see a lot is that as humans, we want to help and we want to fix everybody. And we've got this amazing skills that we have, or story around services and products, and people want to really kind of projectile vomit that onto people. However, we kind of have to look at the less is more attitude of the more you actually give to people, the less likely they are to do with it because they can't digest it. So it's really about less is more. So teaching people how to be okay with the fact that they're giving less information, because it's really thinking about their audience. So those are a lot of the problems and gaps that I see a lot. And people go into the waffling and they feel like they can't stop. So that's really where we have to have a look at being concise, to the point, stop, and then allow other people to digest, listen, and then respond.
Okay, great. So if I'm a small business owner listening to this, am I trying to think of like the biggest problem I'm trying to solve, or what? How do I steer this conversation in a effective manner?
So really, people need to listen more than they speak. So finding out more about the needs, wants, and desires of people means that you can then decide from there what would be the best solution. And majority of people with a business would know the key areas of what those problems are. However, just listening a little bit more to those so that then you can provide those solutions for that person. And I say that having a look at maybe your three key services that you have, what kind of needs, wants, and desires of your audience do they want? And those are the ones to go with, rather than, again, like a lot of people wear a lot of hats. Mm-hmm. They have a list of 15 services. Again, that's way too much information to give to people. So okay, you've got to look at the key things that you have, because once you're able to have conversations with people, you can then share more information with them.
Yeah. So in those networking situations where someone goes, hi, and you've got your name tag on, hi, Peter, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, what's your advice there? Because obviously you don't want to, give a whole shopping list of things. So is there a starting point, or, yeah, how does that work?
Definitely. So I do teach people how to introduce themselves in those scenarios. So I'm going to do it in two ways. So one way is that you could put it back to them and say, great question. Thank you so much for asking. However, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you do, because then you are going to be able to go into needs, wants, and desires. However, we can then go into, and you could just do like a 30-second pitch at that point of who you are, your business name, and what's something that you help people to do, rather than listing out services. Like what I said at the beginning, that I help X, Y, and Z do A, B, and C. Then it just gathers that intrigue for the person to want to know a little bit more about who you are. So keeping it really simple and short.
Yeah. Okay. So someone comes up to me, hey, Peter, what do you do? I help, if I'm a coffee shop owner or something, I help, people make a good start to the day,
yes,
or something like that. And they're like, oh, really? How do you do that? Oh,
yes.
well, got a
Yes.
coffee shop, and then the conversation kind of grows a bit more organically than just.
Yeah, exactly. And because you could ask that person a question and go, do you drink coffee? Which majority of people do. So you could go back and say, how do you like your coffee? Do you go out for coffee? So you could ask questions first. So I generally, when I'm in a situation where someone wants to ask me who I am and what I do, I generally go back and say, how many, or would you like to be able to find your voice and be able to share more about who you are and what you do? So majority of people would go yes. So you can really actually put a question back to people, and then you can then tailor the rest of that conversation based on yes or no.
Okay. Because I used to have it easy, because I ski coached for like at least a dozen seasons, and people would be like, what do you do? And I say, well, I ski coach. And they'd go, oh, that's really interesting. And then I used to play around, because I used to be based out of my dad's accounting office. And then I used to go, I'm an accountant, right? And one would spark a conversation, and the other would just, like, they would then turn to the next person. What do you do? So for the accountants listening out there, how do you go around those services that are sort of already known or stereotyped? I guess being a ski coach is a bit more out of the box. What can we do? What can we do there for the accountants out there, and as an example?
So I say, and I have worked with many accountants, and said, well, don't stand up, or don't initially say your name is Peter and I am an accountant, because generally people will just go, oh, that's nice.
Who's next?
Who's next, right?
Yeah.
So that's where you want to bring in more about, well, what part of what you do as an accountant do you love? What part of being an accountant do you help businesses with? Finding out, again, the key needs, wants, and desires of the people you work with. Then you can say is that I help businesses, small businesses, entrepreneurs to be able to achieve return on investment, or something, again, that would intrigue people to not just see the accountant and see what people can actually do for them. Because I think a lot of the times, if people are not working with accountants, or they're allowing their accountant to do everything for them, we want to have a look at people being able to look at going, well, I can empower you to take some of the responsibility for yourself and understand more about your profit and loss. So there's just different aspects of what accountants really love about what they do when they help people, and what they transform and what they do. That's really what you want to share with people, rather than it just being about titles and what you and who you are and what you do.
Yeah. And so in working with an accountant, for instance, when you help them to kind of pinpoint what they love and how they really help people and what they're passionate about, what's some of the feedback you get when they come back and they go, oh my God, I went to a networking event, and rather than everyone just going on to the next person, or what has been some of the results?
Definitely has been that people have been intrigued to want to know more about them. They have felt more confident and clear and comfortable with sharing more about who they are and what they do. And then they feel that they connect so much more on a deeper level, because there's aspects of what we all do that we absolutely love, and that's what we want to really shine through, because we know that people buy people, not just products and services. So I have seen people have really transformed with, they enjoy going to networking, they enjoy standing up and sharing more about who they are and what they do, because they've got the clarity, they've got that confidence, and they really start to enjoy it. And even adding a little bit of fun as well to it. Like, I've got some people that do financial planning and accountants, and they've got that real humor and fun side to them, even though a lot of what they do is quite serious. And I say, well, that's what you want to bring in to it. So really bringing in their personality has massively helped in those situations, for sure.
Okay, and so, like, when you're working with, say, a new, we won't just pick on accountants, like someone, when you're working with a new client, what's the kind of process? Like, do they find you and yeah, how does that work? Like, what they're coming to you because they want to be more effective in communicating their message not just in a networking environment, but across the board. Is that the case?
Yes. So there'll be different variations to why people come to me. They'll have a speaking gig coming up. They could definitely see that they're turning up to a networking events and they're like, I just don't seem to get anything back from it. So they'll hit a pain point of so a lot of times people will say, oh, I've been spending 3 years and I don't know how to do this pitching. I really need help. And that could be because I've been at the event and stood up and done my pitch. So people then go, oh my God, I need your help.
Right. Yeah, got it.
So a lot of the time it can be me attending events, me speaking, doing something like this. People will reach out to me. But generally, a lot of people have a pain point of they're doing a speaking gig. They've got a presentation coming up. And obviously during the time that we've had, people have now had to transfer their businesses or organizations online. And that's a pain point because they have no other option but to do something like this. So it's massively normally pain points and they're ready to go, I need help. And who have I been following for a little bit of time?
Got it. As well, let's talk about speaking, because it's been said that, most people would prefer to be in the coffin rather than giving the eulogy. So what is it about speaking that just freaks people out or has the potential to freak people out?
Well, I know firsthand because I have been one of those people. I wasn't born just suddenly going, give me a mic and I'm good to go. I was one of those people that would rather be dead than get up on stage or speak on camera. So I had a massive fear and avoided it at all costs. And it was around 8 years ago that I was coming to Australia from Scotland. And I thought, I'm just going to really go out there and overcome so many fears. Let's just go to Australia and just really go for it. And once I started to overcome it, was it easy? No, but the more you do it, it was better. So really, again, people have to look at the fact that it's not about you. And if you've got a message, you've got a business, an organization that needs to be out there and show and how much it can help other people, that's what you want to think about. So when you're kind of thinking less about yourself and more about other people, you start to be able to flip that, because excitement and fear are the same energy. It's just on different spectrums. So we just have to be able to look at flipping that, which again, I do a lot around mindset and give people strategies to be able to reduce that stress and anxiety to do that. But really it's that your message really is bigger than yourself. And the faster way to do it and really share this with people is to do speaking as well.
Right. Yeah, right. And I don't know, I guess from the mindset, if you're coming from the space where you're serving others, then you don't get so caught up in your own stuff, and then you're able to be, I guess, more present and articulate, and then the whole speaking thing is better to begin with, and so you're already on the right foot. Is that kind of?
Yes, definitely, and that's what I work with people on, to just change that perspective on it, because that's all that we're doing is changing that perception of any fear that we have. We can change that. And again, I can hold my hand up and say, I have changed that. So it is possible for anybody to do the same.
Yeah. There's there's always times where I think nowadays with the education in schools and stuff, I think the kids are getting more opportunities to speak than I think, my generation or the previous generation as well. I think that's probably having a positive effect, because my sister, I think she even dropped out of one of her university courses because she had to present and she wasn't going to do it, and it was less painful to and I don't think it was the ideal course for her anyway, and she has done really well in accounting, funnily enough. It can be a real barrier for people. So if someone is if someone's listening to this and they know they've got to present, or they know that they're uncomfortable presenting, or they know they could be more effective, and they've got a great message or a service that they want to get out, how do they go about it? Like, what are some of the things that you kind of lead them to understanding and getting them on that path towards being an effective communicator?
Definitely, such a great question. And so what I help people with is that we want to be able to plan ahead. So planning and preparing is a massive, massive thing that I teach and say, you need to meet me halfway. And my clients that I have that go out there and plan and prepare are like, this is the best thing that I've ever done, is to commit to it and plan and prepare. So planning ahead of time of, well, who are you going to be speaking to? Who's your audience? Because it's really important that we always speak the language of our audience, because you're going to connect better when you speak to them. So it's a bit like filling in the gaps of what you would say. Like I say that I help business owners, managers, leaders. But if I was in an audience with just managers, then I would speak to them as managers. If I was speaking to just business owners, I'd speak to business owners. So knowing your audience is so, so important. Then you want to look at, well, what's your end goal out of speaking? Like, what is the purpose and the point to doing the presentation? Because once you understand that what's the end goal, is it to be able to empower people, to educate, inform people, then you can actually create your presentation based on that. So it's about working backwards. So then you can create the value or the content that you're going to share with people. And then what would you like them to do next with that? So I call it call to connection instead of call to action, because it's about connecting with people and knowing what to say at the end. Because a lot of people, the problems that I see is that spend too much time in the middle and forget about the beginning and the end. And they are so, so important. So we need to be able to have the confidence to open it and the confidence to be able to end it, but know it off by heart, because that'll give the people confidence. Whereas in the middle, yes, it's okay to maybe go off a little bit of track, because something might come to you. However, doing the beginning and the end is going to give the speaker a lot more confidence, and then breaking down the middle section into kind of headings and subheadings. So really it is about the planning and the preparation, is how people will succeed in overcoming the fear that they have, because they've put the time in to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a really good point for everyone out there. I guess the more you prepare, then the more, your comfort zone's been expanded. So the more, the more ready you are to I guess put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how did you get into this space? Like, did you realize there was this, like, what was it that led you down to be in the space that you're at? Clearly you're really good at what you do, actually. And before we go on to that question, I'm going to throw another question at you.
Go for it.
If there's been great value already so far, so there'll be listeners out there that'll be going, oh, how do I get in contact with you? So how do they get in contact with you?
Definitely. So Speaking Styles is my website. Speaking Styles is on Facebook and LinkedIn, and Melanie Wood. So in any social media, you can look for me in any of those platforms. Reach out to me. So I do have initial consultations that I do as well. So if you go onto my website or PM me, then I can send you the link and you can book in for a chat, and then I can see if and how I can help them.
Yeah. And is that speakingstyles.com.au
Yes,
or
yes.
.com? Okay. Oh, nice.
.com.au.
Yeah, .com.au. Okay, perfect. We'll get that in the show notes as
Thank
well.
you.
So how did you end up, in this space?
I never planned to do any of this. It literally, like, I feel like I just fell into it. I didn't plan. As I said, I was so scared of public speaking. My family just go, I don't even understand like how you go on stage and how you do all this, because you were someone that just literally wouldn't do it. And literally I came to Australia, and prior to coming to Australia, I had never done any kind of self-development. I was never exposed to any of that type of work. I wasn't exposed to any kind of spirituality or anything like that. And I was given the book over 8 years ago, the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. So if anybody hasn't read it, please do, or jump on Netflix and watch the documentary. Something massively changed for me in my life when I read that book, but it took me more than one read, because I had to read it again. Because the first time I read it and it told me to take responsibility for my own life and things that had happened in it, And I, living in Scotland, and I had been through my own trauma of an abusive marriage. So when I read that book for the first time, I thought, really? I've got to take responsibility for that's happened in my life. So I remember kind of throwing the book back at my friend, and she gave me it back and said, read it with an open mind. And I did. And then I watched the documentary. And then 6 months later, I got on a plane to come to Australia. And by that point, in 6 months, I had read so many books, like consumed so many books on self-development and spirituality. And I started to see the difference that my life could be coming to Australia by being really exposed to this type of work. And as soon as coming to Australia, I ended up working with coaches, with mentors. So for the last 8 years, I've worked with coaches and really changed my own life, the story that I tell myself, to be able to share my own story with people and show people what's possible. And then I went to a public speaking organization. I was invited along, and I remember sitting there going, people actually volunteer to come to something like this, and they stand up in front of the room. I think I've just landed in my worst nightmare. And I remember thinking, there's just no way that I'm going to do this. And then I was signed up to do my first speech, I think in a matter of weeks, and just thought, oh my God, like I'm actually going to do this. And I remember standing up on stage and up at the front of the room. And I made every mistake that I now obviously share with people not to do anymore. I was halfway through my talk, and I was getting told to come off because it was way past the time.
Yeah.
I wasn't concise and to the point. But after that, like I really started to see, like I could really stare fear in the face and overcome it. And really, if I'm able to do that, why not then be able to create something that I could have a platform to share my story, but also being able to help other people do the same. So again, things just really lined up for me over the last 8 years, from reading that book to where I am now. Everything just lined up for me. Has it been easy? No. But it has just lined up for me, and I started to see the amazing results from overcoming a fear and teaching other people how to be able to use speaking to really make an impact where they are as well. So yeah, that's really kind of how I fell into all of this work.
Yeah, that's it's really interesting, and because you've been able to master it in a sense, or master the fear and move past it. You're not only coaching, but you're also, I guess, a mentor in a sense, because you can share both levels of, this is what you need to sort of tweak internally, but also this is how if I was in your situation, this is what I'd do, because you've done it as well, which is always an attractive proposition for someone who's looking for a coach. Is to find someone who's actually done it.
Yes, that's right, because you can relate to people. And I think that's where falling into it in a case of each level that I've went to is that I say to my clients, it's not like I still don't go through certain aspects of how you go through and what you go through. I'm just on a different levels of that, but I'm consistently going through fear and going through anxiety and going through these to go to the next level to do that. So you're never far removed from the people that I work with. And I think that's where that connection really comes to, because you can listen and understand people better.
Yeah. That's there's nothing better than having a coach who's mastered the thing that you're looking to master. Yeah. And so you obviously you're very good at what you do, and so when you go to these speaking gigs and you talk about, there's probably a bit of a lineup at the to kind of meet you and then find out more. Is that like, or how does the business, how do you build your business, and also how's COVID been during this time?
So prior to COVID, yes, I was out there a lot more in person, speaking at networking events, speaking on stage, running live workshops, all of those things. And I built my business based on speaking first. So putting myself out there and promoting myself with sharing value, and then people being able to book in calls with me afterwards, and then they can come and work with me. So obviously during COVID, I had to take everything I did in person and take every aspect of my business online. So I basically took all my speaking online. So I've been doing something similar to this for the last 6 months. And I mean, luckily on camera, I've been able to do prior to COVID. So I already had the confidence in doing that. And then, so I took all my live events and was running my workshops and everything online, webinars, free training, everything was literally on here. And all my clients are now all on Zoom. And I have clients worldwide as well. So literally I took everything onto there and was just, I went on to lots of podcasts globally, interviews like this. So literally I just took everything that I was doing, but being able to do it on a global scale because of the technology that we have. And really I stepped up to so many people are not in a similar situation to me because of COVID. And I felt I'm in a position to give. So I literally, within 2 weeks, I'd taken everything that I had in my business online. And I was just there turning up for people, giving, especially to clients who had to stop working and had to close their business down. Then I was just there to offer what I could, whether it was a phone call every week to check in, to see how they were going, and really just checking in with people, running free events, free training. And then things really started to take off from there because people started to see that they needed to survive. They were going to have to take their business online. So really within a month, I was really inundated by people wanting to come and work with me because of that. So I have been super busy for the last 6 months, which is amazing. And I feel like that's fulfilled me to be able to help other people because not everybody has been in that similar situation as well. And I now have 2 sets of skills because I now have created so many things online for my business that were probably on my 5-year kind of to-do list that have now kind of had to happen in the last 6 months, which is amazing, absolutely, to be able to do that. So now I'm able to do so much more online, but I'm also now ready to go back out there in person and begin to do some things that I used to do, but I'm going to be doing both. I won't be going back to everything in person since COVID hit.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I suspect that's a similar situation for a lot of business owners out there. If they weren't so much online, they obviously have shifted, and now moving forward, it's now going to be a balancing act, isn't it? Where you can do a lot more. It's interesting that because you took everything online, that then opened you up from, I guess, an in-person marketplace, which is domestic Australia, to, unless you're going on speaking gigs around the world, to being able to sort of do the same thing for a global audience. How did that play out? Is that just something that built on momentum, or was that something you chased, or is it? Yeah.
I think, well, I was already chasing that prior to COVID, and I had been back home in Scotland December and January and got back before COVID hit. So I was already in a situation where I was going to use travel to grow my business globally. So I went home for 2 months and basically worked my business back home and in England. So the whole of the UK, I was setting up meetings, running workshops, speaking. And then obviously then coming back when COVID hit, I already had so many connections and we started running joint webinars. And I started to gain more clients out of that. And then people coming into my closed group from people that knew people from the UK and Australia. But it was already something that I was already doing prior to COVID, applying for speaking gigs, connecting with people in the States. So obviously there was just more opportunities became apparent when COVID hit, but it was something that I was already in the process of doing because that's what I wanted to do and I couldn't do it in person. So I just looked for it online to be able to continue to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it's always reassuring to hear the success stories through COVID, and they are out there, and Andrea does a great job in bringing them forward. So it's been fantastic to hear about your story and your journey, and the amount of people that you're helping. What are some things that we need to just, like, what would be a couple of point of mind things for someone who's about to go and do some kind of speaking or online presentation? Are there just a couple of tricks or tips that you can share that might just help them, have a better performance?
Definitely. And really get clear on what's the purpose of doing it. So, I have built my business around doing the speaking and helping people with speaking, but there still needs to be a strategy behind doing all of these things, not just presenting or speaking just for the sake of it to be seen and heard. There's still got to be, well, if you then go and stand up and present to a group, why are you there? Is that your audience that you would like to work with? As well, we have to look at those types of things. So really get clear on why you're doing it, what's the purpose of doing it, and what would you like to gain from it as well. So yes, it might be because you want to practice and you want to gain the skills, absolutely fine. But do you want it to be a return on investment? Do you want to use it as a funnel to be able to bring people to you? Then really getting clear on all of those things will then help you to then put your content together to what it is. And again, going back to what's the current needs, wants, and desires of people from your field. What can you do to be able to help people right now in the current situation that can really be of value to people? But there's ways in which people can come to you as well if they need further help.
Yeah, that's really good advice out there, isn't it? So essentially figure out what what they need or what they're looking for, give them great value, be super relevant to them, and then give them the opportunity to, if they're interested in, taking it to the next level of finding out more information, some way for you guys to connect, and we'll go from there. Because you do that in your own business, but so you use your skills that you teach other business owners to also build your business as well, don't you?
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so one of the reasons why small business owners come to you is they see you doing it for yourself and they go, I don't really know what she's doing, but it made a lot of sense. And I'd like that kind of thing. Is that often how people walk up to you and go, I don't know what you're doing, but I want to be able to do what you do, kind of thing?
Definitely. And I think as well is that we always want to be what we're teaching. Have a look at, are you doing it? Like, if I'm saying to people, you got to get out there and be seen and heard, let's build that strategy, let's build the skills. But I'm sitting here at home going, well, you go out and do that because I'm going to be here doing nothing. It's like everything that I teach to people, I am doing everything, the structure, the formula that I teach, I'm doing the same thing. I've got a speaking gig coming up. I'm getting my tools out, I'm filling it all in, and I'm writing it all out and say to people, well, I'm doing what you do. So it's so important that we are doing the work that we're telling other people to do, because again, there's no authenticity coming through. And people go to my social media and I'm telling everybody about, go out there and be seen and heard. And people go on to all of my social media and they go, she's nowhere to be seen. How would that look to people?
Yeah. That's a really good point. So you're walking the walk and talking the talk, literally, in there. So that's fantastic. Well, look, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Andrea, I'm going to bring Andrea in as well for sort of final thoughts. But gee, it's been effective because, craft your message, understand your audience, deliver great content to them, be super relevant, and give them some kind of relaxed way to connect with you and build your business that way.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been great. Andrea, your thoughts?
It's what I always find fascinating when we're doing these conversations with a lot of our experts, Peter, is that fundamentally they're all recommending the same advice. What's powerful is the different vehicles or the different approaches you can take to apply that advice. And I've always been a big fan of, public speaking. As you know, Peter, I've always been a big fan of, look, if you're going to go lead generate, go and meet people. After all, what you're selling is your business, and then what your business has to offer as a solution. And the more confidence that you can build in yourself to take your own message out to the market, the more likely that people are going to want to get to know you, and then essentially over time get to spend time with you. So Melanie, look, I think it's a real valid point, and I also feel that it's actually a timely point to be talking about still building relationship. This is, especially in the kind of environment we're now in, where we're all having to work from a screen, whether the screen be in a home or a business environment. This here has really become the way that we've now got to communicate and build relationships. So it doesn't really matter it doesn't really matter what sort of vehicle you apply. It's as long as you go out there and apply it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so what do you see as, I guess, the next step for you personally in your own business? Where's the next business goal for you?
So for me is now looking at, I really want to be seen and heard as a speaker on stage a lot more than I have been in
Sure.
the past. So my vision is now, and I'm now in a program where I'm being taught how to do that.
Cool.
So
Whose program are you doing?
I'm doing the Speaker Business Accelerator.
Okay.
It's Marty and Michael.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really now where I want to go, and that was something probably prior to COVID that I was looking into, and now I still see it as, well, you can still be that, whether it's virtually or in person, when that time can come to maybe travel again and go global. That I really want to step up now and help more people and speak to more people to do that as well. And I've just become an author as well. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've co-authored a book. So, using all of those different types of platforms to really help more people, whether it's in a book or whether it's on stage, and really grow myself and my business, and then being able to help my clients do the same.
Sure.
If I don't grow, then they're not going to grow. So it's always being kind of staying one step ahead of the game. As well. So that's really what my vision is to look at bigger platforms and audiences to speak to.
And are you looking, as a stage speaker, are you looking at coming in from a motivational avenue, or are you looking at selling products from stage?
So it would be, sharing my own story, but helping other people how to do storytelling, how to present. So there would be the elements around, yes, there would be motivation, there would be value, and then yes, there would be the aspect of, if you want to find out more, you can come and work with me or
sell a product,
use my online programs. Yes.
Sure. It's just something that Pete and I have had quite an extensive experience with, haven't we, Peter?
Yeah, we've both worked for speakers in the past, Melanie. So I could kind of tell where Andrew was going there.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned you co-authored a book. We've got a little bit of time, but tell us about the book. And is it out yet?
Yeah, it's out now. So it came out 2 weeks ago. So it's called Change Makers. It's the 4th volume. So myself and 24 other women have written a chapter in this book. It went to #1 international bestseller. And so it is available on Kindle, and now I do have the printed copies as well to sign and sell. So it was really exciting, and again, that wasn't something on my 2020 list, absolutely not, but it came and thought, well, again, these are things that I've been wanting to do. The opportunities came now, why not do it and be able to share more of and get started to do it. And now I will be looking at writing my own book as well. So
nice.
Which is, it's an amazing, because it's a big thing to suddenly write in a book when I'm a speaker. I'm not a writer. So the process that I had was I used my own skills of speaking my chapter and getting it transcribed to put into the book to do that. So now I know that I can do that. Now I can look at going, well, now I could do a whole book and do that myself.
Yeah, and that's what I find, that's a really effective way to do it too. Like, I'm a writer by trade, and I do all my transcribing.
Mm.
Yeah, because I can't type as fast as I can talk, so that's also another factor. Hey, so look, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. For the listeners out there, I'm sure they've taken a lot of notes, and we'll have so speakingstyles.com.au if you want to get in contact with Melanie and really get your message across and grow your business. You can see that it's just an authentic way to be you, to connect with, the people. It's just being authentic, really, isn't it? And getting your message across in an effective way, and then connecting with people that want to do business with you, because not everyone's going to want to do business with you, but why not put your best foot forward and show yourself in the best light, so those can go, oh, I get what, what you do. I understand what you do, and I wouldn't mind finding out a bit more about that. I mean, that's pretty much the secret to all of it, isn't it? And you're in a great spot, and thank you so much for sharing your expertise. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much again for having me. It's been such a pleasure to share this as well. So thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
And that's it for us this week, and we'll catch another episode next week. So thank you again.